Morning class. Good morning everybody. Good morning everyone. Good morning Shilpi. Good morning Abesh. Nagman, good morning. Shirisha, good morning. Murtaza, good morning. Lama, good morning. Nagaraj, good morning. Good Manoj, I think. Roshan, good morning. Ahmed Fahim, good morning. Chaitra, good morning. Pavan, good morning. Murali, good morning. Amreen, good morning. Sachin, good morning. Abash, good morning. Deepika, good morning. Sabin, good morning. Neena, good morning. Pawan, good morning. Madhuling, good morning. Mohan, good morning. Puneet, good morning. Zulfati, good morning. Rajesh, good morning. Shweta, good morning. Lizelle, good morning. Yeah, lot of sunshine. Thank you, Lizelle. Okay, guys, I have sent you a PowerPoint just now in your official mail, your official group. Just check, please. Just check the role of culture. Teja, good morning. Anjali, good morning. Kishan, good morning. Yeah. Okay, I'll start the class now. Already I logged in a little late because I thought I'll give you this PowerPoint and then go back to yesterday's PowerPoint. It is full of pictures, right? Okay. Asha, good morning. Ruben, good morning. This is the seniors classman. Shashikant, good morning. Asha, good morning. Shruti, good morning. Never mind, you all are welcome. Okay. Yeah, here, good morning. Yeah, here, where are you? Good morning. Good morning. How nice to see you all wishing early morning. Keep smiling, big smile. Ravi, good morning. Yeah, my nose always. Rashid, good morning. Yeah, see, we are talking about culture. Culture is very important in international business. Why? Dave, good morning. We have to be careful about not hurting people's sentiments in international business. At the same time, there are two reasons basically. First of all, the positive one. The positive one is when you go to a foreign country, they look at you as them and us. So, how are you going to make that them and us as we? So, it shouldn't be their product that we are, us are buying. It should be our product we are buying. How will you do it? So, culture is very important. You have to understand how people think, how they behave, how they buy, how they reject what they don't want. So, when you know all this, what happens is people accept you as one of us. And when you are accepted, yeah, Rupa, good morning. Rima, good morning. Madevi, good morning. Umesh, Hemant, good morning. So when you're accepted as one among them, your product also becomes, accepted. It's not a foreign as foreign product. It's like something that we need, that we can use, etc. So culture is very important because culture encompasses how we act, how we think. See, I'm telling you with my hand, you know, I'm telling you how we act. I'm making gestures. But in some cultures, they will never make any Bharati, good morning. They will never make any gestures. They are straight like this. They won't even shake their heads. So we have something called low context cultures and high context cultures. In high context cultures, we make expressions, say this, that, okay, correct, and make a point, etc. But in low context cultures, they'll be serious. They will not make any facial. The greatest, you may not even get a smile. You may just get a nod like this. Okay. So culture is the set of values. Watch your slides. Attitudes. See values. Values differ. See, in many cultures, we have marriages, and once you're married, something like this, a marriage is supposed to be sacred, etc., etc. But in many cultures, there is, polygamy. Okay, polygamy is accepted. Androgyny is accepted. Polygamy means more than one wife. It is accepted. In some cultures, it is taboo, for example. So there are various things like this, okay? How society is made, etc. In some cultures, if you give a job to someone you related to you, it is called nepotism. But in other cultures, if you do not help your relative, you are at fault. You understand? In some cultures, you help your relative get a job through your personal influence, then it is called nepotism. But in some other, Rakshita, good morning. Sachin, good morning. Uh, yeah, Fareed, good morning. Amrita, good morning. Akarsh, good morning. But in some other culture, see, in some cultures, if you help your relative get a job, then you're considered to be that is considered to be nepotism. You're not supposed to help your relative get a job through your personal influence. But in some other cultures, you're supposed to help your relatives. If you do not help your relatives, you are not a good person. So there are various. This is the example for values. Set of, because I'm talking about culture is a set of values. Attitudes. Attitudes is very interesting. How you view a certain thing, I'll tell you. See, for example, this is a serious example. When some cultures look at the concept of suicide as escapism, but in some cultures it is not called escapism. If you commit suicide for a reason, then you're considered a martyr and a hero. You see, something like this, or an attitude towards a particular product. See, in our, there was a joke. Indians have not put plastic into the ocean. They're talking about plastics in the ocean, isn't it? They're saying we Indians are not responsible. Okay, Sanjay and Asha, Naresh, all good morning. They said it isn't Indians who put the plastics in the ocean. The plastic that we have are all folded and kept in our houses to reuse. You see? So I'm just making a joke. In India, most of us, whatever plastics or whatever things we get, we find a reuse for that product. But in some cultures, once you use it, the package is thrown away. If the package has, you can keep it neatly or something like that. It has a, what do you call it? The sticky thing that keeps the packet intact. If those packets are like that, we will use it. I can put some chilies and keep it in my fridge or something like that. The attitude of reusing. But in some cultures, you say, okay, this packet, I've finished, I've eaten what is in it, I'll just throw it. So that's one attitude. Belief. We Indians believe in the concept of rebirth. We like, if you do well in this life, Soumya, good morning, Soumya. You do well in this life, in the next life, you will come back as a human being, because human being is supposed to be the highest evolved being. But if you're not doing, if you're in your this life, you don't do well, you may come back as a crow. Shaker, good morning. You might come as a crow or a dog or a camel or something, because it is said animals cannot talk, they have to obey somebody. So, you know, something like this. So, the various beliefs are there, behaviors, how we behave. See, suppose so many of you are there. If I ask you, now we'll have breakfast, man. What do you want? We have all gone to a hotel, and we all want to have breakfast. Hadia, good morning, sweetheart. Hi, Farhan. Farhan, good morning. Okay. Where is Lily? Is she well? Lily, Merit, where are you? Okay. Now, um, well, behaviors and customs. I'll ask you what you want to eat. You know, what do you want to eat? Now we are having breakfast. We South Indians will say idli, dosa, etc. Some of you may say chapati. Some of you may say rice, anything, rice bath. It can be of tomato, it can be of anything, but I want to eat rice. And someone may say, no, not rice in the morning. I'll have rice in the afternoon. And someone may say, oh, a bread and egg or bread and cheese would be nice for me. Bread and jam would be nice for me. Yeah? Yeah, Farhan, good morning. Yeah. Bread and cheese or something like that. Someone may say, I want jola roti, that jawar roti, no? I eat it 3 times a day. Someone may say, I want the ragi ball, ragi mudde. All right? Otherwise, I don't get energy. So each one of us, our eating habits are different. Imagine being in India and in a in a state like Karnataka, we have so many different things that we want to eat in the morning differently. Okay, so how much difference can a culture make internationally? Imagine, just in Bangalore, you have so many different types of people in a metropolitan city. Imagine the same thing internationally when you go internationally. How it will. Yes, Yashaswini, good morning, and Bonish, good morning. Yeah, how different, how many cultures you have to face abroad. Okay, so here we are. You have different customs, you have behaviors, and those things like culture is the set of values, attitudes, beliefs, behaviors, and customs that distinguish a society. Okay, now we come to characteristics of culture. Culture reflects learned behavior. Does most of it, whatever we learn, is from our parents. How to talk, how to walk, how to sit, how to dress, how to comb your hair. Everything is, someone you learn from someone. Even your language, what language you speak, is somebody has taught you, isn't it? So culture is reflects learned behavior. Elements of culture are interrelated. When you believe something, see, if you're a vegan, your belief is veganism, your eating habits will be vegan. All right, your dressing habits will be vegan. Tejas, good morning. Yeah, your thinking will be vegan, your eating style will be vegan, your dressing style will be vegan. Suppose you want you're a hardcore non-vegetarian, your eating will be similar. You don't mind wearing furs, maybe, or having a scarf with snake skin or a tortoise shell or something like that. I'm not saying, I'm not advocating that it is correct, but I'm just saying maybe you don't mind. Our attitude. So our attitude reflects our behavior. All right. So then culture is learned behavior. It is also adaptive. We learn to adapt. All right. See, we basically, they say Indians are not non-vegetarian. Indians are vegetarian. So foreign cultures have come and taught us to be non-vegetarian. So we have adapted according to situation. Sometimes we adapt according to region. All right. See, if you see back, I'm from Mangalore. If you see in the coast, in Mangalore, for example, our our food is spicy, but not as spicy as in Bangalore. Bangalore is colder, is a colder city, cooler city. Cool is not in that term of it. It is a colder city. So here naturally the spices are more. Your food is spicier. It is and in Mangalore, in the coffee, tea, and all is very mild. You just make, it's like if you see drink and you drink coffee and tea in a very big cup, one full cup of coffee and tea, and it is mild. But in Bangalore, you drink so little coffee but very, very strong. Okay, so there are things that is because of, excuse me, that is because of the weather, for example. All right, so learned behavior is adaptive. Now, you know that dish called bisibele bath. It is a very famous dish and very tasty dish in Bangalore and Mysore. When we never in Mangalore, well, when I first saw bisibele bath, I was saying, "What is this?" Someone has mixed the rice and the dal and served, and it wasn't very pleasant for me. But later on, I realized that it is a dish by itself, and something like this. So you get used to eating it and learning to cook it, etc., etc. This is called acculturation. So there is acculturation, ACC, and culturation. So it is adapting is there, all right. Adaptation is there, culture is there. Then culture defines the membership of a society. See, if you take the national culture of a country is the culture of the largest community of that country. I repeat, the national culture, Devika, good morning. The national culture of a country is the culture of the largest community of that country. Alright? Now, for example, in India, the largest community is Hindu. So, Hinduism and Hindu culture is the culture of the country, naturally. Okay? So, that way. Culture reflects learned behavior. Elements of culture are interrelated, as I just said, how the attitude defines your behavior, etc. As culture is learned behavior, it is okay. Culture defines the membership of a society. Culture satisfies needs. You agree? You want to do it in a way that, for example, most of us, you have come to India, see, and you want to, or you have come to Bangalore. Balaji, good morning. Lakshmi, good morning. Mithun, good morning. Sunita, good morning. Yeah. So you have come to Bangalore, and then you say, "No, I want to eat jola, roti of jola like how we used to eat in my hometown," for example. And when you eat, Ali Fatin, good morning. And when you eat the jola roti, you feel satisfied. So culture satisfies needs. You may have come from a foreign country, but you may want to eat how you cook it in your country. All right. You may want to try Indian food, but sometimes you want to cook, or there is a festival. When the festival is there, you say, "Oh, my mother cooked this, my grandmother cooked this for the festival. So I'm going to cook this and I'm going to treat all my friends to my home country food. And I'm going to dress like this. All right? I'm going to dress like how I dress in my home country, my national dress." And you feel happy. So culture satisfies needs. All right? And culture is shared and is dynamic. We share our culture. You know, you share some food from your country. It's very welcome. Okay, don't forget, treat me to some food from your country. Also, culture is dynamic. Culture, it changes. It doesn't have to. See, there are many of you who, when you first came to Bangalore, foreigners I'm saying, found the food spicy. And later on, before they left, some guys told me, "Ma'am, we are going to make our food at home spicier because we are used to having spicier food in Bangalore." Our food, okay, I'm not saying all the time, But once in a while, you may feel I want to eat spicier food as I used to eat in Bangalore. All right. Or you may like see the idli. According to me, the idli, vada, and the masala dosa in Bangalore is simply awesome. You go to any other place in India, North India or Central India, the idli dosa and the masala dosa that you get in Bangalore, you will not find. You get the best idli vada and masala dosa in Bangalore. So sometimes when you go back to your country, you may want to make or eat the idli dosa and masala dosa of Bangalore. If any of you have not tasted, do taste. It is heavenly taste. Okay. So now we'll come to the next PowerPoint. It says the self-reference criterion. Now see, when we go to a foreign country as an international business company, we make the mistake of thinking that they are just like us. If this product is offered, I want to offer it like this. Okay. For example, some countries, some color is not liked at all. All right. Uh, See, there is a joke. For example, when Christians get married, they wear white, isn't it? So when there is a death, they wear black. So for the wedding, the bride wears white. We wonder why the groom wears black. If white is for rejoicing and black is for mourning, we wonder why the groom wears black. Okay, hi Jnaneshwari, hi Lavanya. Now give me a smile if you understood the joke, boys. Okay, yeah, girls get angry with me. Okay, Abhishek, good morning, ma. Good morning. So here we are. Self-reference criterion. That was a joke. I'm coming to the self-reference criterion. Okay, the self-reference criterion is a mistake that international businesses do, thinking in their way. Like I'm an Indian, I'll think in an Indian way. When I go to say Germany to sell some product, I must think in the German way. See, we have this agarbattis, no? Agarbatti, that this incense sticks that you light when you worship. You light the incense stick and you use the incense stick for worship. Now, those incense sticks emit a lot of smoke, and they are, they are differently perfumed. Some perfume is very pleasant. It's a flower perfume, fruit perfume, but some perfume is very strong. It is something that some people cannot bear. We sneeze and all that. Imagine you want to sell these incense sticks in a country like France. France is full of perfumes, no? See, let's say Paris, a lot of perfumes. So when you want to sell in France, can you take the incense sticks in the same form as you get here? The smoke may not be liked. The smoke coming out may not be liked. The ash keeps falling. That ash will dirty, you have to keep on cleaning the ash or keep something underneath it. It may not be liked. And the perfume may not be liked. Say, we Indians love rose, jasmine perfume. That's maybe a foreign perfume for, unfamiliar for a foreigner. So if you're taking an incense stick to a foreign country, you may want to see that it doesn't emit a lot of smoke or doesn't emit smoke at all. It gives you that flame. Artificial flame can be given, like we have artificial flame can be created in a small light or something, and it should emit a perfume that is pleasant to all internationally you can accept. It doesn't have to be a strong rose perfume or a strong jasmine perfume like how we Indians like it. You understand? So, self reference criterion can sometimes cause you difficulty. Now, there is one example here, it doesn't really give you the self-reference criterion, but it's an example of culture. See, Colin Fong is the founder of Zelling International, and she's based in Singapore. She makes a line of products for for bath products. You get bath soaps, you'll get bubble baths and shampoos and things like that. For bath products, she makes. So she wanted to have her products, used by a hotel called Sedona Hotels International. Her products were very good. The hotel had no issue, but she said accepting a lady as a business person was the difficulty she found. Imagine, initially, they refused to take her seriously because she was a lady, and they refused to take her seriously as the owner of a business who manufactures these soaps. Once they took her seriously, only then they decided to see the quality of her products. So the culture also says that maybe women in business are accepted slower. Okay, so like that. Next, we are talking about acculturation. It is a process through which the person understands a foreign culture and modifies and adapts their own behavior to be compatible with that culture. See, when somebody goes abroad, you get something called a culture shock. All right. I had a friend who was a vegetarian. She went to a conference in Canada, and she says she didn't want to eat non vegetarian. She wouldn't even eat eggs. So the hotel found it very difficult to give her breakfast. They used to give them all kinds of bread, all kinds, any kind of bread. There are so many kinds of breads. And to accompany that bread, for a non vegetarian, you can have anything, sausages or something, or eggs and cheese and all. She wouldn't even eat cheese because she considered even cheese as non vegetarian, and she wouldn't eat eggs. So, all every day they gave her jam and bread, and to top it all, to say that, it's not just bread, they would give her cake and juices, some kind of cake, just to make her breakfast interesting. So it is not, we Indians don't like sweets in the morning. We like sweet things. We want spicy chutneys and sambars in the morning. So this was not available for her, and it becomes necessary for us. If you are living there for a long time, you must find the need to cook your own food, etc. Food is okay. How to behave, or how they expect you to behave, when how everybody behaves, you too need to behave. So this is called acculturation, understanding another's culture and going according to it. Okay. Now many of you, I see that you put a big carpet and you sit, and you sit, all you call all your friends and all that. So people who are sitting on chairs will also learn to sit on the floor and enjoy your food and your hospitality. So this is acculturation. Cross cultural literacy. This is an understanding of another culture through study or experience. See, many times, so for example, official government organizations. See, we have this FIEO, Federation of the Indian Exporters Organization, done by done by the by the Ministry of Commerce in India. FIEO, Federation of the Indian Exporters Organization. So this one is organized. You have the Bangalore chapter, you have the Chennai chapter, etc. So what happens is they tell you, in their website they'll tell you what are the exports that India can do to which country. For example, if it is Malaysia, what does Malaysia want from India? The products are all there. So something like this. These organizations which support export and import also have made some studies on cross cultural literacy. what you're supposed to do in a particular country, what you're not supposed to do, etc., etc. There are many things that you do naturally here, but you cannot do it in a foreign country. They expect a particular kind of behavior. So what kind of behavior they expect in every country? Some literature research has been done, and they translate it into etiquette for a different country, and they train you. This is called cross cultural literacy. Satish, good morning. They call it cross cultural literacy. Now look at this. I have given you elements of culture in a picture. So you have the social structure. What is the social structure? I'll explain. In our country, we many of us still live in extended joint families, but it doesn't happen in Bangalore. In Bangalore, you come and form your own family. It's called the family of procreation, like your wife and husband and children. But when you have your parents living with you or your in-laws living with you, then it is an extended family. So what is the social structure, Mahesh? Good morning. What is the social structure that is there in societies? You have to understand. It is different in different cultures. Language. Language is something that you like very much. So suppose you are basically say, I had a student who was telling me this story. He went to visit his brother in a particular university in the US. So they were in the lift, and they conversed in Kannada. They found it so interesting to converse in Kannada. So they made some jokes and they were laughing, and there were other people in the lift, and this was rude actually. You should not use your language and laugh and all that. And after a while, two other people says they talked in Kannada, and these guys were truly embarrassed. But the two other guys could have not talked at all, but listening to the language, mother tongue, it made them, force them to come out and say, I'm from Karnataka too. Suppose your mother tongue is, say, Telugu, and you come to Bangalore and you meet another person who speaks Telugu too. Would you not say in Telugu, hi, I'm from here, what's your name, etc.? A little bit. So, language makes you very comfortable, excuse me, very comfortable with another person's culture. Our language is something that makes a friend, creates a friend, gives you a feeling of security, it makes you go back to your childhood, etc. So, Spice, for example, it had some phones, and it says simply talk. Instead of saying simply talk, they said simply talk Madi. So the Kannada word in that gave a little like, oh, they are our people kind of feeling. When Ford came to India, they used to call their cars the Josh machine. Okay, what is Josh in Hindi? Josh is something that gives you, adrenaline. So the Josh machine, the Ford was called the Josh machine. So some things that they do, like words like mast, masti, and something like this, no, colloquial Indian words. When they use in advertisement, it makes you feel this product is part of us only. All right, something like this. So language, then communication. Communication can be verbal, oral, or by sign language. Okay. So as I told you, in some high context cultures, we do like this, like this. As I'm talking, you see me use my hands. You see me using my gestures. You might see me raising my eyebrows or making, nasty faces, smiling faces, etc. But in some cultures, low context cultures, there's no expression at all. Just they speak. All right. So communication happens in various ways. I will say, oh my God, and I will do like this. Okay, something like this. Expressive kind of language. Some language is not at all expressive. All right. So we have communication, and communicate. For example, if I say like this, which means I'm not talking. If I tell you like this, please don't talk. All right? If I do like this, what are you doing? You know, some things are there, gestures, etc., etc. Now, I'll ask you something. You have to reply to me. What is this? Tell me, what is this? I want an answer. Y'all are there, no? Tell me what this is. Nobody knows. Guys, are you sleeping? What is this, man? It's a symbol, isn't it? Now I seriously have a doubt. Are you listening or gone to sleep? Victory, Anjali, yes, victory, victory. Okay, okay, okay. Wow. Victory, peace. Yes, yes. Eric, yes, yes. Yes, victory, peace, Sujan. Yeah. Shilpi, victory. Okay, Sai Kokila, yeah, Murtaza. Okay, now I'll make fun of you all. This, these are two fingers of mine. These are actually my fingers. Yes or no? Okay, I'm joking. See, in communication, we use symbols. Okay, when I do this is definitely victory. Okay, this is definitely victory. Hmm? It is not my fingers when I show it. See, these are my fingers, of course. But when I show like this, yes, when I show like this, it could be two also, yeah. Or it could be the symbol of victory and peace, etc. So a symbol is something that denotes an idea, but not what it really is. What it really is my fingers. Okay. Yeah, what it really is my fingers. But when I show it in this way, it could be number two, or it could be victory and peace. Okay, so these are symbols. Many countries have many symbols. I'll talk to you about the phone. No, goes on. Okay, then I shouldn't use my phone. Okay, so here we are. Come. Okay, I wanted this. In the class, it is even more funnier, man, sadly, but then you enjoyed it. Good, good, good. Okay, so communication can be non-verbal, communication can be verbal, communication can be through symbols, communication can be gestures like, make a face or smile or make, what is this, etc., etc., or zip like this, keep quiet. Okay, they'll say, yeah, very good. So something like this. But you have to be careful. See, this can need not be internationally understood. People can misunderstand the gestures. You have to remember this could be something meaning something else in some cultures. So when you go abroad, you have to avoid making gestures, etc. You have to avoid making gestures. Be careful. Okay. Then religion. Religion certainly determines your culture. See, some cultures, like I don't mind some culture. If I were on some other culture, I will not have been able to come to face y'all like this. I may have to cover my face, or I may have to cover my hair. It depends, all right? Something like this. Or how you present yourself, etc. It depends upon religion. And see, religion gives you an opportunity for business also. Okay, okay, man. Okay, man. For smoking, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe somewhere. Okay. So different this thing, different words also mean different in different culture. So religion. See, sometimes religion also gives you, gives you business opportunities. For example, you say during Christmas or Deepavali or Ramazan, lots of sweets are required, isn't it? So if you are a sweet manufacturer, you are feasting on, you're on a high during Christmas. You make cakes, you make sweets. During Deepavali, you make sweets. During Ramazan, you make sweets. But the types of sweets may be different for different, but you make a killing during a festival. So it makes a this thing, what to say, business opportunity. You see, just now we had Ramadan and they had Rosa. So they used to break their fast. Uh, Islam people, Muslims used to break their fast eating dates. So if you are a date exporter or importer of dates, then you have a great opportunity during those 40 days, isn't it? And in my area, they sell a lot of, not this year sadly, last year also, a lot of samosas, all types of samosas, vegetarian, non-vegetarian, with onion, with peas, with potatoes. You have variety of samosas. If you are a samosa fan, you have a feast. Okay. Mm. Yeah, I'm very soft. Uh-huh. Nasir, is it better? Just let me know if it is better. I did increase the volume of my computer. Okay, just tell me. Okay, so religion. See, I was telling you, uh, Muslims have their fast. Okay, so I get to eat a lot of samosas because suppose I'm a samosa fan, or somebody is selling samosas. This is a business opportunity, to sell your samosas. If you're, for example, during, there's a particular group, I won't mention it here. They have a lot of hotels. This group has a lot of hotels and sweet shops, and also they have, yeah, okay. Also they have wedding halls. Okay, they have one wedding hall. Once I had a student who came from a smaller part of small part of Karnataka, and he required a place to stay. So they were from the same community. So this company told him, since he wasn't very economically strong, so they told him you can stay in one room in the wedding hall. Okay, so this fellow is to stay there free because community, they helped. They wanted to help students who are getting educated in Bangalore. And Bangalore rents are quite expensive. This boy is to stay there free. And he used to tell me, these boys who worked in this thing, no, wedding hall, were very fond of this boy because he was an MBA student, whereas they had not studied. So every wedding, every sweet was kept for him. They made sure this fellow ate really well. So once he was telling me, ma'am, all weddings have stopped. Why? It is 1.5 months to Deepavali. So the whole wedding hall, I believe they were stacking boxes of sweets. They have sweet shops, no? So they were manufacturing sweets and stacking in the entire wedding hall because so much of sweets, so many sweets would be sold during Deepavali. Okay, so yeah, religion also creates business opportunities for us. Okay, values and attitudes are also matters. Some values of how you behave, how you should talk, how you should dress. These are all. It creates an attitude also. Accordingly, for example, speak softly, don't shout in public, don't eat in public, don't see all those things now that I learned as a child have changed because everyone talks on the phone in public. We forget we are in public. We laugh. We all our personal issues are coming out in public. That thanks to the phone. Be aware of this. Don't like this. Okay, be very careful about it. Okay. Now we talk about language. It gives clues about cultural values and acculturation. And also languages, many languages means diversity. All right. In India, we have so many languages, isn't it? It signifies that we are a diverse country with diverse cultures, many languages. Then business managers can adapt their business and marketing practices around linguistic lines. Like I said, simply talk, Mardi. Mardi was not necessary, simply talk. They said simply talk, Mardi. And there are some ad that yake, idu yeke, something like this. One Kannada word in the middle of an English sentence, one Hindi word in the middle of a English sentence. So something like this makes you feel as if it is our people. It's not them and us. It is we. You see? So something like this. And then same language doesn't mean same culture. Many people speak English. For example, you have here Americans also speak English. Basically, their mother tongue is English, and then of course there are Spanish, etc. But basically, America all over English, and England also is English. But the same English can mean different things. See in the next slide. In American English, if there is a meeting and you said I'm tabling an item, it means the we will tabling an item means we'll talk at the next this one. We will table it means we will show it. We'll bring it to discussion in the next meeting. Tabling an item means in American English. In British English, tabling means we have already finished discussing and we are tabling it. Tabling it means we finished the discussion, no more discussion on it, something like that. So the tabling an item has two different meanings in America in English. Though basically they speak English only. All right. Now here we are. Same language doesn't mean exactly same culture. How many spelling differences are there between American English and British English, isn't it? Now, language is a competitive weapon. You agree? Language is a competitive weapon. When you see someone from your, imagine you see many foreigners are here, no? When you see someone from your own country, will you not break off into your own language? You'll start speaking your language, isn't it? And if someone is from, say, um, North Karnataka, and you find someone else who eats the same thing and talks the same way, you'll definitely break off and talk in that Karnataka, the way you speak Kannada in your hometown. You'll definitely talk like that, isn't it? So, language is something, it's a competitive weapon. You can use language to convince people that you're one of them. And then lingua franca. Lingua franca means business language. All right. See, the Chinese and the English used to deal with each other. Both of them did not understand each other. Okay. Uh, yeah, both of them did not understand each other. So I believe they started a language which there were both the words and it was called Piglish or something like that. Okay, some Chinese words, some English words, etc. A new language was formed only for the sake of dealing with each other, business. So that is called lingua franca, the language that you talk in business. I'll tell you one example. In America, once this happened. There was a Russian firm and there was a Japanese firm. They wanted to do business with each other. So they said, okay, Japanese firm said, these are my conditions. And the Russian firm says, these are my conditions. So in whatever English they knew, they were not basically native speakers, native English speakers, no? So they both drew up a contract. And the Japanese said, oh, yes, correct. You agree to this? Correct. And the Russian says, yes, these are my terms, correct. So they said, now this contract has to be legally bound. So they went to a lawyer to register the contract. When the lawyer read the contract, he couldn't understand anything because there were no complete sentences. Excuse me, sentences were not complete, first thing, and there was totally no grammar. There was no beginning to the sentence, no ending to the sentence. Nothing could be understood. So the lawyer, American lawyer, said, "See, this cannot be understood. How can I do this?" They said, "Okay, fine. You want to repair the English? Go ahead and repair the English." So the American lawyer, with whatever he understood, whatever terms and quotations were there, specifications, he drew up a contract. But when he drew up the contract and brought it to the table, the Americans, the Russians saw it and said, "No, no, 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 this is not what I said. We cannot agree to these terms." Okay? And the Japanese said, "No, no, no, these are not the terms I said. We cannot agree to these terms." So when the contract was made in nicer English, both of them refused to sign the contract. So then the American, it seems, he had to sign, he had to, um, formalize the contract that they had written in their broken English, and they understood that perfectly. So there was no problem between the two companies. All right. So sometimes lingua franca, or uh, you know the English that you use, or the language that you use for business, is not exactly language as in language. Okay. Next, you could talk about translation. Translation. In English, if you say, "Who are you?" Yeah, how does it come in Kannada? Neevu yaru. Okay. Kannada to English, Neevu means you. Then it becomes you who, isn't it? When you translate Neevu yaru, or yaru neevu, so it becomes who you who, isn't it? So these things are, I'm just making a small joke. Translation makes is difficult. So translator has to be very careful, especially when you do business transactions. No, you cannot hurt people's feelings, isn't it? And you cannot hurt a language, you cannot hurt people. Once you hurt people, they may never come back to the discussion table. So translation has to be carefully done. Now this is yes for us. If I say like this, you'll say ma'am is saying yes. If I say like this, ma'am is saying no. But in some cultures, this is yes and this is no. Surprised? This is yes and this is no. It is said the Japanese will nod. If you think they've said yes, you're mistaken. The Japanese are telling you, "I heard you, I understood you." They're not saying yes. They're saying, "Yeah, I understood you and I'm listening to you." But they're not saying yes. You should not misunderstand. "Oh, they said yes, my business deal will go on." No, you have to wait patiently. Let them understand, let them decide, then they'll tell you whether they're yes. This doesn't mean yes for them. It means we are understanding, we are listening to you. All right? So, saying no, saying yes, all this. See, there is another PowerPoint in that you see in Hong Kong, 1153 postgraduate students, both bilingual, they knew English as well as they knew Chinese. So they were given a questionnaire, the same questionnaire in English, and they were also given in Chinese. See, now they think in Chinese, isn't it? We think in our mother tongue. We talk in any language, but we seem to think in our mother tongue. So the answers that the same students wrote for the same questionnaire, which was in English, the answers that they got, and the answers they got from the students in Chinese were very different. Because what they understood in Chinese was different than what they understood in English. You understand? So language is a very sensitive issue. You have to be careful. See, in Canada, you have English speaking people, and you also have a large part of Canada, like you have French speaking people. Okay? Generally, when you talk about the English, they talk about cleanliness, etc. When you talk about France, they talk about perfumed, they like perfumes. Okay, not that they don't like cleanliness, but English are known for more I what clean, etc., clean, neat, etc., whereas French, no, perfumes, etc. So Procter and Gamble uh, has one soap called Irish Spring soap. So they advertise in English and they advertise in French in Canada. When they advertise in English, they talk about how the soap makes you very clean, etc. etc. The soap promises cleanliness in the English ad. In the French ad, it talks about sweet smelling soap or pleasant aroma soap. All right. The same soap, when they talk about it in English, they talk about cleanliness factor of the soap. When they talk about in French, when they give the ad in French, they talk about the pleasant smelling quality of the soap. Is that clear? So, like this. See, I had an ad here. I see, for example, how do we write? We write from left to right, isn't it? We write from left to right. So we tend to read also from left to right. How do you write Arabic? Right to left. Now let us say we have a soap, okay? We have a detergent soap and we want to advertise it. So we show a bundle of dirty clothes and we show the detergent and then we show a pile of clean clothes. So we who speak write English will see from there dirty clothes, detergent, detergent makes it clean. What if you're reading from right to left? What if you're reading from right to left? Now, I want you to go to the PowerPoint that I gave before. I was doing one PowerPoint that I was in my last class, and there, because there are some pictures there that I want you to see. Okay, I just finished strategic alliances, and I told you that we are going to do something on culture. You remember? Go down after international strategic alliances, you have something on culture. Okay, here we are. The role of culture in international business. This is full of pictures, so it will be a little more interesting to see. Now we have here three levels of culture, and here we have occupational or organizational culture. You have Colin Fong here. Then you see this, the next ad. There is a guy here who has fallen tired in the desert. Then you see him drinking some juice and then you see him running. So if you're basically an English speaker or you write in English, write in Kannada or all languages, you see it from the left to right. Suppose you basically predominantly speak a language which you write from right to left, you'll say this fellow was running, he drank some juice and fell down. Now next you have the clothes. I've shown you tied, I should not. So you have soiled clothes, you have a detergent powder, and then you have clean clothes. Which is correct? I hope you are following that this thing, PowerPoints. So it should not be from right. Clean clothes, use this detergent, and then your clothes are dirty. Okay. Now there is something called caveats and cautions. Caveats means what you should do. Caveats, okay, you should do. Cautions are what you should not do. All right. There is something called cultural relativism. All right. Cultural relativism is what happens in some cultures are accepted. Some incidents, some actions, some behaviors are accepted in some cultures, but they're not accepted in other cultures. So this is called cultural relativism. Suppose there is a problem and someone who doesn't accept what you did goes and complains. Then if you prove that in your own culture it is done that, tried that kind of thing, it is done, it's not a problem, then such a thing, such an action is called cultural relativism. All right. In some cultures it is accepted, in some cultures it is not accepted. Stereotyping. Now, this is very, very dangerous. Stereotyping. You see a South Indian, you'll say, oh, Madrasi. It is not accepted. You cannot say all South Indians are idli dosa people. Of course, we are idli dosa people, but you cannot make a statement or say like that. We love our idli dosa, we South Indians, hats down, this that. But that doesn't mean you have to stereotype and say you offer them only idli dosa. See, I went to Aurangabad last year, and my flight was in 2 hours. So my people who had were taking care of me said, "Ma'am, what would you like to have? Would you like to have?" Because we had already had breakfast and it was in the mid of the day. It's like we didn't couldn't have lunch also because just had breakfast, but then cannot get into the plane hungry. So I said, okay, we'll have a small snack. When we went to the hotel, they ordered me idli and they told me, ma'am, don't expect the idli to be as nice as the idlis in Bangalore. That second sentence I accept. No idli, no masala dosa is as nice as in Bangalore. Because Bangalore is Bangalore, the idli dosas is awesome here. So, without asking me, they ordered idli. Now, isn't this stereotyping? Of course, I like the idli, but this is stereotyping. Okay, we look at some cultures and say, "Oh, this fellow is from this culture. He knows to sing. He will sing." We say some cultures, these people are all fish eaters. Okay, or these are all coconut oil people. All right, we Mangaloreans also use coconut oil. We also eat fish. You don't have to be from God's own country to eat fish and coconut oil. We also love our coconut oil. A lot of coconut oil there. Bangaloreans also love coconut oil. So many people use. But we stereotype. And this stereotyping is dangerous and it is racist. You should not do stereotyping. It is not okay. You just because see Kurgis, for example, we all know them as either they are in defense or they play hockey. So when you or they are very good sports people, very good sports people. So whenever you have in college, when you make a team, when you make a team and you want a sports person, you look for Kurgis to join the team because they are excellent sports people. So for brains, you may look for someone else. When you're making a quiz, you may look for someone else. You see, for everything, we stereotype. These people are very good in this man. This, something like this. So stereotyping, but in international business, be careful how you do it. Then next is ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is similar to the self-reference criterion. You cannot say because I think like this, that person also thinks like this. No. What is good in my country will do for you also. May not be. Yeah. If you say chicken curry, for example, it's very good in India. So I'll give chicken curry for everybody. Not everybody in the world may like chicken curry. There may be people who love chicken curry, but or curries, for example. We make curries. Some people make sauces, isn't it? So you cannot say I'm going to call people home for dinner. I'm just saying on a light turn, or you cannot this thing. But sometimes ethnocentrism works, like in IKEA and in some kind of foods. People do like ethnocentric products. Ethnocentric means made exactly like how you make in your country. People may like it. You see this ad here. For example, a Western country has sent that the Statue of Liberty to that country. It's a cartoon, and they have covered it because it was, but actually, who received it wanted covered only. Okay, this is a very sensitive cartoon. You can see, and this is next. If you can see, it is the Baguan, the Chinese fire cupping. This is a treatment. And when you have some pain and all that, and accumulation of some wrong acid in your body by using your hand too much. Maybe you've done some, you've used a racket and played, badminton or something like that, and your arm is aching. You have some accumulation of some fluid there. That by this method of what I have shown you, you can remove it and go ahead with it. You know, but if you look at someone who has not done it, it looks pretty terrible, isn't it? But actually it's a very good method of healing. So I've talked to you about acculturation. I've already said it, and cross cultural literacy. Here I'm giving you with pictures. So look at the language. Yeah, language. These are the same examples that I have talked to you. Look at the Irish Spring soap. Okay, in Maoris in New Zealand, I believe they touch their noses to each other to welcome each other. Okay, but we don't know in what circumstances you are supposed to touch noses with someone else. All right, uh, something like this. Now you look at this thing there in Kyrgyzstan. I believe you have to take a piece of. They welcome you with bread and salt. So you're supposed to break off a piece of the bread, take some salt, and eat it to say that you're accepting the hospitality. I think, class, I will stop here. In my next class, I will go from communication, and that shiny, golden, shiny car is the clue for you that I will do from that slide onwards. Please look at the slides because they are very interesting. If you have not seen the slides as I was teaching you, please go and see the slides. Some pictures make it more interesting. So please stay the side. Shall I stop now? Class, shall I stop now? I'll come back on Monday. Shall I say bye? Too much of a monologue also is tiring, isn't it? So I'll stop now. Nobody is saying yes, okay? Smile, class, stay safe, stay healthy, stay at home. God bless you. Enjoy your classes. I know we can't help, okay? Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye. Hope you enjoyed the class. I'll make it even more interesting in my next class. Okay? If I can. Yes, Anjali. Yes. Thank you. You take care too, all of you. Bye. God bless. Please follow my slides that I gave in the first class. It is full of pictures. Okay? Please follow. Too much if I talk also, it will not be very nice. I can talk about 1 hour, 15 minutes. That is more than enough. All right. God bless you all. Take care. Jai Hind. Jai Karnataka. Bye bye.